Thank you once again, Ms. Rekha Chakrabarti, for such an impactful presentation. I now request Captain Ajita Nair, Dr. Yes, yeah. I now request Captain Ajita Nair, Dr. Vinci Ashok Tribhuwan, and Ms. Thankam Gomez to come up and capture this memory. So much. The next session is about diagnostic patient safety legal aspects. I am pleased to hand over the session to Ms. Ashwini P. Kavadimatti, General Counsel, Head of Legal Healthcare Global Enterprises Limited, Bengaluru, a passionate healthcare legal expert who has ensured positive safety of healthcare professionals falling prey to darkness. Time is all yours, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. How many are hungry? Everyone. They are all hungry, Abdul, and you have called for a legal session. How fair is it? That too on patient safety, diagnostic errors. I think I've already super senior nurses, the fraternity of nurses have spoken about what diagnostic errors are. Let me not go deeper into it. Let me restrict myself to legal. So when I say legal, I'm not here to definitely scare you. There are certain precautionary measures that we'll have to take to ensure that the legal cases don't hit our doorstep at all. So I'm here just for that. Can I have my, yes. Well, so I think Rekha has already explained in detail as to what these errors are, so I may not have to go in detail about it, but what could really be causing harm is when things go wrong, when it is not meticulously done by nurses, is what I'm going to talk about. So those diagnostic errors do come out when wrong diagnosis happen, when there is delay in administering medication. So these are the basics. Well, I heard one of the senior nurses in the session, she was saying very clearly that the nursing diagnosis do contribute to the clinical judgments that the doctors make. So it's very important. So let us not have our nurses putting ourselves down. So that's an important message she gave. So how we can really cut down these diagnostic errors is what the super seniors have spoken. What I'm going to touch upon is how these smaller negligence from the clinical team is adding to the number of cases that have been mounting. So nowadays patients, we know that they are quite accessible, they have access to internet, they know what's happening around, and they can just tag you in any of the cases. So that's how these kind of cases are going up. If you can see, the diagnostic error is 33% of the 100% of medical negligence cases. 24% are due to surgery errors. Treatment errors are 18%. 11% of birthing errors. So medication and monitoring errors, so 7% is not a small contribution at all. So how many of you here think that medical negligence is a law? Not many think it is law. All nurses are very educated here. So medical negligence is not a law. So what is a law? Dowry Prohibition Act is a law. Act is something that the legislature makes. So unfortunately, the medical negligence, because it's not a law, there is no punishment that can be given. So medical negligence is spoken in criminal as well as civil. So unfortunately, medical negligence today, police also can come after us. And the patient is so smart that he can go on social media, then you will have a media trial. Then he can go to consumer court and claim against you. So unfortunately, because there is no law around it, there are multiple forums which is deciding the same complaint. I have handled a case which was pending in 21 forums, the same complaint. And that went on for many, many years, more than 10 years. And these are all long drawn. So one simple action at the right time can save you from getting litigated. So that's an important message that I wanted to give. Well, negligence, so this is a basic thing I want to just tell in the interest of the time, how courts will come to conclusion that whether in a case that is before it is amounting to negligence or not. So you are all qualified nurses. Of course, when I need to take an injection, I cannot self-prick, or nor people go to advocates for that, right? We'll come to you because you are very educated, you are qualified. So what is expected in the general norm is that you have to be dutiful from whatever you have learned. So there is an amount of trust that a patient has when he comes to you, so you should not fail there. So once you fail there, that becomes a breach. So when there is a breach, or irresponsibly if you handle a patient, then the outcome of that, depending on whether it is harm, injury, or death, that is how the court will decide. This is basic. Actually, about medical negligence, 15 minutes are not enough. Let me try to wrap up. Okay, so these are few of the ingredients which will contribute certainly to medical negligence, and till date it is a judge-made law. So the judges have come to consensus around this when there is a wrong transfusion, when wrong medication is administered, and when there is an object that is left behind in the body. There I think you play a predominant role. There is a case law, we'll discuss about it. So this is very scary, what is on the right side. Every year there is increase of 110% in the number of cases that are filed against medical negligence. So this is happening for a primary reason, that how the court understands. Can anybody tell me how can you convince the court? So what is that evidence? Absolutely. So documentation serves the purpose. So nurses' documentation, I proudly should tell, that has helped in a lot of my cases, because sometimes the doctors will miss. So please continue this work. That is very important. Documentation will save you big time. And another thing is awareness amongst, lack of awareness amongst medical fraternity, feeling low to go to your senior and talk that, how do I handle these patients? Please don't have that at all. And if the doctor is in a very commanding position, please talk to your super senior nurses as to how to handle the situation. Otherwise, you will end up in trouble. So these are the cases where these are leading to medical negligence matters in the court. Well, I'm not going to take you through in detail. I think the slides presentations will be sent across to all of you. Well, I think in detail everybody have spoken about what errors in medical diagnosis are. So primarily 2-3 things that I would want to mention here is the way you handle the patient matters a lot. The way you inform the patient, how informative you are with the patient is very important. And the communication is basis for everything. Sometimes the doctors may miss communication, but you don't have to miss. I heard one of the super senior nurses saying that you please go back and check whether the patient has really understood whatever you were trying to tell. So ask the patient. So that's an important thing. Second thing I've already covered is the documentation, and one is handling the devices. handling the patient with care. Because what happens is when we see the medical devices itself are scary. I'm personally very scared. I can work with doctors and nurses, but I can't go as patient. But the comfort that nurses give me before I meet the doctor is very important. So those are the things that you will have to take care. So I'll straightway go to a case study. Abdul, can I walk and talk? Because I'm not comfortable standing here. So I need a mic. It's working? Okay. So these are the case laws which will help you to ascertain where we stand today. So this is one of the Supreme Court cases. And you tell me, medical negligence cases, are only doctors responsible for that? Nurses are also responsible? Are you aware of cases where nurses are out on bail? Yes, that's very important. So medical negligence is just not restricted to doctors or hospitals. Nurses are equally responsible. So in this case, there was a patient who came in, I think a kid who was admitted in the hospital with complaints of typhoid, and he was asked by the senior pediatrician to, So the patient was asked by the senior pediatrician to administer an injection intravenous, but she landed up administering it intramuscular. So that resulted into multiple complications. The patient was shifted to another better facility, that is at AIIMS, and they could not really help the patient because he had already become like a vegetable. So they informed even if he survives, then he may not make it longer. So this is what the court said at the end of it. The commission found that there was clear dereliction of duty on part of the nurse, and that the hospital was negligent in having employed an unqualified person as a nurse and entrusting a child to her care. It held that injection should have been administered by a doctor. I think we come across this situation very frequently, and this is a case decided by Supreme Court. So even if the doctor asks you to administer, please refuse. Where he has to administer, let him come and administer. That's very important. Because tomorrow they'll not come and save you. Doctor was not held negligent here. The hospital was held negligent and the nurse was held negligent. So this is an important case law for you. So this is another case which went also up to Supreme Court. So this was a case of a 25-year-old lady who was admitted in the hospital, and she required a blood transfusion. She had a blood group of O positive, and the hospital nurse administered a B positive blood group. Then she succumbed later to that. So whose negligence is this? And this became a criminal case. Immediately a police complaint was registered. What happens when a criminal case is registered against nurse, hospital and a doctor? Anybody to tell me? That is the end result. I'm asking you, when the situation happens, can the police come and just arrest you? No. So remember this, the medical fraternity is somebody who cannot be arrested because police authorities are not experts. So the complaint initially is taken down. The complaint is referred to medical council. For example, if this has happened in Karnataka, it goes to Karnataka Medical Council. They investigate the case, and they may also take expert opinions on this. That's very important. Expert, what will save is an expert opinion, end of the day, before the medical council. Then it is sent back to the police. And if it comes out to be negligent, then a criminal proceeding cannot be stopped. And unfortunately, for negligence, you cannot compound the offense. It's not that I'll give money of lakh of rupees to the court and I'll come out. There is an imprisonment of 2 years. And we are yet to see that in India, because in India the cases take longer because we lawyers also want the nurses and doctors to be safe. So we fight it out in the court. Yeah. So this is of 2024. I'm sure, I mean, everybody are looking, taking up their eyebrows and looking at this case. This happened just about 2 months back. Anybody wants to read this? Sanchita, you want to read this? Sanchita is my colleague. She helped me to make the presentation.
2 doctors, 3 nurses in Aund Hospital gets 2 years imprisonment in 2011 medical negligence case. A court in Pimpri on sentenced 2 doctors and 3 nurses, all employees Aund District Hospital to 2 years simple imprisonment and a penalty of rupees 50,000 each in a 2011 case of medical negligence, leading to a stillbirth. The guilty were further directed to pay compensation of 1 lakh to the mother as per the Pimpri Chindwat police statement. The court ruled that doctors and nurses did not pay attention to severe pains and ignored the patient, leading to stillbirth, which is gross negligence.
So this is held by medical council. I was just mentioning about medical council. So medical council should have gone through the various medical records submitted to the authority. They would also examine the doctors and the nurses. So this is the outcome of this. This is 2024 June case. This is very, very recent case. So any thoughts on this? What could have been right and what could have been better? Just quickly, if somebody can talk about it. Ma'am.
I'm just, shocked by the, events that are being discussed here.
Yes.
And all of them, there is some safety process there in the hospital.
Correct.
But if they follow that, these things can be. The first case where, we don't listen to patient.
Right, ma'am.
When they say that I have pain, sometimes we decide what is their pain. That is very wrong. Their pain is their pain. I have heard in my experience sometimes the pregnant lady will be screaming with pain. The nurse will say, "Itna kya chilla rahi ho? Pata nahi hai, itni kitni delivery to kar diya." So you don't know that, why is she screaming because of some problem. Second one is definitely a totally known case. This is now known as retained, item.
Yeah.
They
So
are
ma'am
known
is
as
talking
RSI.
about
RSI.
the next case where
Yes.
the forceps was left behind in the surgery. So I think, ma'am, as you said, these are common cases because recently also there was a Supreme Court judgment where a 12-inch gauze cloth was left in the lady's uterus. So then she succumbed to death. And it got realized after 6 months because she goes back after 6 months because there was a thread which was coming out of her abdomen every time and she passed away. So after that, husband challenged and it went right up to the Supreme Court and there is a verdict against the doctors and hospital. Of course, no allegations on nurses, but nurses were made a party in that case.
I
So-
think nurses cannot be exempted.
Yes,
This is my
exactly.
personal
That is the
thinking.
point.
They
Yes.
cannot be exempted because we are partner in the crime.
Yes.
Because we have dual role. One is to be the safety guardian for all the processes and speak up. But easy to tell, but to get to that level, lot of things need to be done. And you coming and talking here is definitely an eye opener. And I was telling Abdul, we are going to invite you for a longer webinar to educate nurses
Sure,
more.
ma'am. Sure. My
Today
pleasure.
we are giving you only 15 minutes. We'll call you for a longer webinar.
Sure, ma'am.
Great going. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Well, these I think you know about it. This is captured because as ma'am already informed, there is a process that you have to follow about documentation, about informing the patient, about handling the equipments and maintaining confidentiality. Just a small case that happened in my erstwhile organization when nurses generally are on the, this nurses station, they keep talking. There is a patient's attender who was very unhappy with the doctor there or probably he was having a lot of tiff with the management. He runs out, he takes a patient's file from the nurse's station and he runs out. You know, after that, what do we do? What do you think we can do? First thing is, you know, it should not be lying on the table. It belonged to some other patient. Of course, we filed an FIR with the police because it was a confidential information. And in another case, the nurse herself, out of, you know, a friendship with her, the patient, she had given them the medical record from which they had taken a high-risk consent out. And they wrote to us that we want the entire medical record, so law mandates us when a legal representative writes to us, we'll have to go back and give. And we checked, there was no high-risk consent. The next day, we were all around the media, and he had the high-risk consent with him. So be very careful. Any friend can turn a foe when it comes to healthcare. So you will have to be extremely careful. Well, I end my session with this, whatever Florence Nightingale said, that and what nursing has to do in either case is to put the patient in rest, and rest, the nature will act on him. Thank you. I just want to thank it will be unfair if I don't thank my favorite sister Lata from Fortis, Abdul sitting here. Thank you so much. Yeah.